You're listening to Dr. Emma and me on the Tutors Dynasty and Beyond podcast. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Well, it's Thursday. You know what that means. It's time for Dr. Emma and me. Welcome to my co-host, Dr. Emma.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm good. I'm always good when I get to spend a little bit of time with you. So that makes me happy. How are you?
Me too. Me too. Now I'm starting to really miss you. It's been like a while since we've seen each other, and I think we talk more obviously when I'm over there because of the time difference. This is something that people living elsewhere will know. The time difference is important because there's 7 hours difference between Santander, where I'm at right now, still here, and Minneapolis.
Yeah.
How have you been? Have you been okay this week?
Yeah, it's just living the dream.
With your bookcase, your new bookcase?
Did you notice I added some books?
I did notice. Now it's getting a bit crowded in there, Rebecca.
I decided last week to try some things and move some of my books from my other shelf to this one to see what I think. I just can't decide.
We are obsessed with this bookcase.
I sleep in this room on the floor right next to it. Actually, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I don't. I do love it.
Okay, should we get into the topic for today's episode before you say something else like that?
Yeah, maybe. You know what? This is before we even talk about anything. I just have to say I had a couple comments on YouTube that kind of upset me, but I also like to listen to the feedback from people. There were a couple people that said that we chat too much at the beginning and take too long to. I know I didn't want to tell you this until we hit record.
I remember reading those, but I'm very good at forgetting things I don't like. So I was like, whatever. No, honestly, I think you're right. I think that what you answered was right. We are chatty. Who cares? It's fun.
It's what we do. This is why we do Dr. Emma and me, so that we can be ourselves and still talk about history. So I'm going to try to refrain from too much chitter chatter at the beginning of the episode.
Good luck with that. With me doing that.
I was like, I'm going to try and keep Emma in line.
I behave well.
Yes, you do. You do. I think we just feed off of each other a lot when it comes to this stuff. So let's talk about something fun, because we have the Forging a Queen 6-week online course that is coming up, and it starts September 17th. I'm super excited. We're getting a bunch of people signing up right now.
Yes.
By the time this airs, I think the early bird sale will be over. But there's still
it's a shame. But nevertheless, you should sign up because it's going to be an amazing course. I'm getting really excited because obviously I'm getting ready for it. And it's been a really fun journey because it's reminding me of how long I've been doing this, how long I've been looking at these sources, but how new they seem now from doing something like parallel lives, to be honest with you. That's the thing about feeding into your obsession. It just becomes more complex with time, right? But obviously, yes, because I'm preparing for the episodes at the same time, it's just kind of like merging with the course. Yeah. But I think it's just also because we've talked a lot about Isabel of Castile, and obviously in the course, Isabel of Castile will be someone really important, because she's the one really to educate Catherine, and she's the one to become a role model. So also because of being with you on the show and that, preparing for the course, I've just been spending a lot more time with little Catherine.
Yeah, I'm so excited to follow along on this journey, because this is going to be new to me too. There's a lot of this that I'm not going to know, and I'm excited to learn about Catherine of Aragon before she became Queen of England, because there was a whole lifetime that she had before that, and it's going to be so important to teach everybody about this part of her life. And I thank you for doing this for us.
Well, thank you. Well, enough of that. That was maybe even too much chatting about the course, Rebecca. Let's move on to the next important topic that everybody wants to know about.
Yes.
Parallel lives.
That's right. Okay, just before we move on, though, I have to remind everybody that there will be a link in the show notes if they want to check out more about the course. So anyway, now let's move on to Parallel Lives. I think this is episode 9, 10. Is this episode 10?
Is this episode 10? I think so.
I think so. Yeah, I can't keep
We'll
track.
find out in the comments too. I'm sure somebody will be, if we're wrong, I'm sure somebody will point it out quickly.
Regardless of what episode number it is, we're going to talk about two amazing artists. And
this is going to be one of my favorites because mostly we've done royal women, and even the ones that weren't royal were kind of royal because I remember speaking about Margaret of Parma.
Yeah.
Who was the natural daughter of Charles V, who was featured. This is a plug, sorry, in Faces for Eternity, the exhibition currently running in the British Museum, that I curated, involving medals and a coin of Isabel of Castile, precisely, and Fernando of Aragon. But the medals, the portrait medals of these women, like Margaret of Parma, Mary of Hungary, who we also talked about, Mary First of England, Elizabeth the First of England, that are featured in this exhibition. And we've talked a lot about them in Parallel Lives. So, but I think mostly we've talked about royal women, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part.
Right. But we did have a very special episode talking about two cool dudes, two artists, with our first guest, Alejandro Vergara from the Prado Museum. Yeah. I almost said the Prado. What happened there? Oh, my goodness. The Prado Museum in Madrid, Spain. Remember that episode that we talked about Rubens and Velázquez? I don't even know how to do that one.
I love the way you say it because all I can say is Velázquez.
Velázquez. Oh, my goodness. I want to rip my vocal cords. We talked about that, and today is kind of similar in that sense because we are comparing two artists. Yeah. In this case, they're two women.
Yeah.
Not two men, so two cool dudettes.
Yeah, I'm excited because we've talked about both of these women on the show before, but I'm really looking forward to putting them next to each other and seeing the parallels that maybe I haven't seen before.
Well, the first parallel is with one of those two cool dudes because one of the dudettes we're going to talk about, Levina Teerlinc, was born in Antwerp. No, she wasn't born in Antwerp. She was born in Bruges.
Good start. Good start to this.
Good start, Emma. Antwerp, whereas the place where Rubens was born, is the place where Susannah Horenbout, the other one, met Albert Dürer. That's the fact that I wanted to point out.
Okay.
So, but the fact that Levina Teerlinc was born in Bruges is also very important. So we're going to talk about two women and three cities, basically.
Okay.
4 cities.
All right. I'm getting my notepad ready for my questions.
So the reason why I want to talk about 4 cities is because and two women. The two women are Susannah Horenbout and Levina Teerlinc, and both migrated to England to work for Henry VIII. And this is something that we have in some of the sources in England, but the main source to know about this is Giorgio Vasari, who was an Italian artist who wrote about the biographies of the famous artists of his time, of the Renaissance, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael.
Here we go with the Ninja Turtles again.
No, I'm talking about the Renaissance artists today. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. My bad this time.
Come on. Enough with the Ninja Turtles. Because I was told off for bringing that up too in the comments. For having the mentality of a 7-year-old little girl. But Vasari also talks about Susannah Horenbout and Levina Teerlinc. What Vasari tells us is they were both attracted to England by the patronage opportunities of Henry VIII. Well, Vasari left out a large part of the story where his wife, really, Catherine of Aragon, was the one involved in the recruitment of Susannah Horenbout. And most likely, Mary the First of England, during her time as Lady Mary, that transitional moment between the death of Catherine of Aragon and Mary's own accession, in the late reign of Henry VIII and then Edward, when she's Lady Mary, she's most likely also involved in the recruitment of Levina Teerlinc, who becomes in the last year of the life of Henry VIII, the first woman in European history to be appointed court painter. This is Henry VIII appointing a woman as court painter.
Was it Henry VIII or was it his wife?
Was it his wife or was it his daughter or his wife?
Yeah.
And was it the three of them? It was all of them. It's Henry knowing that the women are going to be in charge of Edward and knowing that Susannah had done a good job, and why not bring another Flemish woman to continue helping with those things that Susannah had done first and now Levina would do, because Mary's the one who has the relationship with the Habsburgs, who are the ones ruling in the Netherlands, where these Flanders, where these women are from. And the reason why I want to talk about four cities is because obviously both women migrated to London. So that's the first city we can talk about, right? Because not only Susannah, but Susannah's family, Lucas Horenbout, who we've heard about, the miniatures are really attributed to him, but also her father and mother migrated to England, Gerard Horenbout and Margaret Slanders. And Gerard Horenbout had been working for Margaret of Austria.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Exactly. The other three cities I want to talk about is I made a little mistake when I was talking about Levina Teerlinc's birth, because I was thinking of these three cities all at the same time. You know, guys, what happens in my brain? Everything gets mixed up sometimes. But these three cities are very important because of the development of Flemish art. First, we have the cities where these two women are born, Ghent and Bruges. Who else was born in Ghent? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, I hate it when you
toilet.
That it was Charles, right? Charles V.
Yes, very good, Rebecca.
You just had to mention the toilet because that's my favorite story.
Now you need to learn it was in Ghent, okay? Enough of it just a toilet. 1500 Ghent. Charles V is born. He was not born Charles V. We know that, right? He was born in Ghent. Very shortly after, just a few 3 years after, most likely, because we'll say why. Susannah Horenbout is born in Ghent too, so there's a connection between them there, right? Levina Teerlinc is born around the same time as Mary I of England in Bruges, which is another city where illuminators are very, very famous. And we've all heard of this before, the Ghent Bruges style, the Flemish style of illumination, these very, very elaborate, beautiful decorations that we see in manuscripts owned by Henry VIII, Catherine of Aragon, and Boleyn, and all the Tudor people that we love and had money were obsessed with this style, because the best illuminators, like Vasari tells us, come from that area, and Italy too. But in England, they have more access to Antwerp, Ghent, and Bruges because it's much closer, right? And because when they have good terms with the Habsburgs are like, sure, I'll ship some books and artists to you, right? That's how these cities are connected. What is very, very, very important to know is Antwerp is the port, is where all of this stuff is being shipped. That's where Rubens is born, because it became throughout the 16th century such an important place that even though the art of that school of illumination was done in Ghent and Bruges, and that it was Antwerp that became more prominent, because that's where the artists were exporting all these things to the wider world, because the rich people weren't really in Flanders other than Margaret of Austria. The other rich people were Henry VIII, Catherine of Aragon, and all the other patrons in Europe. So that's really where, in 1521, one of the most famous people in the Renaissance, Jura, meets Susannah Horenbout and Gerard Horenbout in Antwerp. Why was Susannah in Antwerp if she was born in Ghent?
That's a good question. Why was she?
Well, what Dürer tells us about Susannah at that time is that she's 18 years old, which for an artist producing art that Dürer says remarkable, Alejandra told us that's very, very young, very young. It's not normal. People like Van Dyck are like that, but usually artists take a long time to be very, very, very good and to become famous too. So Dürer's talking about an 18-year-old, we can say woman, but really at 18 you're very, very young, a girl.
Yeah.
who is just doing such amazing illuminations that he has to buy something from her. And he buys he says, a savior, which is basically a portrait, because a savior is the face of Christ.
Yeah.
Right? And he pays a high quantity for this. And he says that he's marveled that a woman can do this. So, I mean, and this can be interpreted like, oh, dear, but at the time it was just, he had not seen that before. The thing I want to point out about this and why is this important is because Dürer wasn't just meeting people randomly in the street in Antwerp, right? Oh, you can paint? Show me what you can do. No. He had appointments with people, so he purposely met with Gerard Horenbout and Susannah for a reason. Why? Because she was very good and he wanted to see what she could do. Because Gerard was very curious to see what these Flemish illuminators were capable of doing. The other important thing to know is Lucas wasn't there. And Susannah is the one who Dürer says she's basically the talented one of the family.
Even
That's
though,
where I wanted to get down to.
Yeah, it's funny because Lucas is the one that is attributed to so many more paintings that we're familiar with, and we don't hear as much about her as we do about her brother.
Oh, really, Rebecca? That's never dawned on me. It actually has for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is plain and simple. Lucas becomes involved in the king's household. Susannah starts serving Princess Mary Tudor. So she's not giving wages. She's given cloth to make herself clothing to serve Mary. So and she marries. Susanna's most likely teaching Mary how to paint in Ludlow, while Lucas marries an English illuminator called Margaret Holseywither and starts a workshop in London. And because we have more evidence of Lucas' activities in Henry VIII's accounts, and he's called picture maker and this and that, and his wages are accounted for, and his father's at some point too, it's always been, everything has been attributed to him, because Susannah is not in those records. Because we all know that those records involving the previous experiences of Catherine of Aragon and Princess Mary of that time disappeared. Were made disappear. Disappeared by Henry VIII. Disappear them all.
I love when you say they were made disappeared.
They were made to disappear. All of them. Well, or not.
Yeah.
Or maybe one day we'll find them somewhere and I'll be the happiest person on earth, because she will be mentioned there. She is mentioned in Mary Tudor's privy purse expenses that do survive for that other period that I've told you, when she's Lady Mary after Catherine's death, but only once. And again, when she's married again, and again she's given cloth. She's not someone who is given wages because she's serving Mary in another category. She's a gentlewoman. That's why. If we know all of this, and then we become really, really obsessed with Susannah Horenbout, and we study her for another 5 years, I can tell you what happens. What happens is you find other evidence of her activities in the Tudor court, like the fact that in 1520, the Venetian ambassador reports to Venice that there's a woman in the service of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon that gives Charles a portrait of himself in Calais, and he rewards her with a gold chain.
Yeah, I remember
which
that.
Most likely means that Susannah became a noblewoman in her own right for this, meaning that she wouldn't be paid because she was not an artisan anymore. She was she was part of the gentry, right? In fact, when her mother dies, Margaret Vanders, in 1529, and she's buried in a church in London, Susannah is mentioned as Dame Susannah.
Oh.
There you go.
Which would mean her husband was a knight.
He became keeper of the Palace of Westminster and yeoman of the robes, and his really, what we call in history, is cursus honorum, his career as a courtier in the court of Henry VIII takes off when he marries Susannah. So this is because they're serving Catherine. and Mary.
So help me clarify for me, because you just said something that confused me a little bit. When she got married and became a noblewoman, she was no longer painting?
I believe that she became a noblewoman in 1520. So when she was 17 years old, Charles, the one born in the same city as her, in the toilet, just 3 years prior, also a very young monarch, let's think about it, gives her this chain. She becomes a noblewoman in her own right. Then she marries John Parker, who is made several things by Henry VIII and made to be keeper of the Palace of Westminster and yeoman of the robes and the wardrobe. So what I think is she is painting. She's not paid for it because she's serving Mary as a gentlewoman. She is mentioned as Mrs. Parker in the people that will go with Mary to Lugo.
Gotcha. Okay.
And she's given, instead of being given money, because she doesn't have wages because she's part of the nobility, but she is a gentlewoman and she's going to serve the princess, she's given cloth both times that she's mentioned in relation to Mary, and both times is black cloth, yes. So she's probably wearing this black. This is used to make an outfit to be serving Mary in her household. In the case of Levina Teerlinc, Parallel Lives, it's different because Levina comes from not the same city, but the same tradition of illumination. Her father is also a renowned illuminator. She also has many siblings like Susannah, but she is appointed paintrix. That paintrix that you found in the letter, right?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
She is appointed that. And why? Because she's younger than Susannah. It's a new generation. They're doing things differently. And I think Henry VIII knows his life is coming to an end. And he's giving more power to Catherine Parr and Mary, who are basically going to be taking care of Edward in many ways and respects. Because whenever Catherine Parr is involved with the Horenbouts, she's paying for pictures of Edward. The women are the ones involved in commissioning pictures.
I'm not surprised by that from everything that we've learned.
So even though it's Henry who recruits her, it's Henry who pays her, it's Henry who does this because Mary has the contacts in Flanders to bring Levina, who is ruling in Flanders when Levina comes to England, Mary of Hungary.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's all tied.
Margaret of Austria's niece, Catherine of Aragon's niece, Mary the First of England's cousin, who sends her a portrait of Philip in 1553 when she becomes Queen of England by Titian.
I love that. I love that.
Problem solved. Next. Any more things we need to know about the Tudor court that nobody knows about? I'm only kidding. No, but this is basically a consequence of studying art history and things like Vasari in relation to the Tudor, obviously the Tudor documents, but also the Spanish monarchy. And I know we talked a little bit of the course, and just a little plug here. That's what the course is going to be heavy on. And that's why it's different to other things that are out there. And I want people to know that because it's very important. It changes the perspective on many things artistically, including the recruitments of Susannah Horenbout and Levina Teerlinc, our dudettes. These women are so cool. These women are famous. Like this Italian artist knows about them in Italy. This is how famous they become.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a third woman. There's other women that Vasari mentions in this time when he's talking about the Flemings. He says about the people from Flanders that are great artists. And he mentions another recruitment, famous recruitment. Katharina van Hemissen was recruited by Mary of Hungary.
Oh.
And Vasari tells us that she went to Spain with a good salary. And then I think it's very funny when they say that, Philip II of Spain was a very innovative patron of the arts when he brought Sofonisba Anguissola to paint for his third wife, Isabel of Valois. And I'm like, yeah, because he saw it in England, because his sister, Mary of Hungary, had done it beforehand. Not very innovative, but cool dude for doing it, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, this was something that we know of, at least Catherine of Aragon started in England. The recruitment of women to train the new generation of princesses. And I don't think it's only to paint. I think it's also to do design, embroidery. I find that embroidered works are listed with painted works in Tudor inventories. So I don't think they have these great separations between painted and embroidered work sometimes that we do.
That's interesting. I would have never thought of it like that.
And I learned about this reading the privy purse expenses of Lady Mary, Mary Tudor, Mary the First, because sometimes she pays for the design of a cushion, but sometimes she pays for the design of a clock and the making of the clock. So there's separate things.
Yeah.
And a design for a cushion can be painted on a painting. You know what I mean? These are templates.
Interesting.
Yeah. This is how deep I am into this now, Rebecca.
I love that you get so into it like this too, because it just opens up a whole new world of thoughts and ideas and how things actually looked during the 16th century. Because I feel like we all have this preconceived notion of how things were and how everyday life looked like at court. But I feel like when you talk about these women, it gives us an insight into a world that has been hidden for so long.
Well, to me, this came through two routes. It came through the route of studying workshops, family workshops, where we have like getting annoyed at Lucas Horenbout. That's how I got to this, because it's always him. And then you study the dynamic with all the available documentation that you can find. And I'm sure I have not found everything. I'm sure there'll be more stuff out there that will come out. You see that it's not that easy that one is doing everything. And they're involved in these workshops where everybody's helping out. And you go into the sources of expenses of Henry VIII, and there's a lot of people involved in the production of art. There's people even like bringing the canvas for them to like do these paintings, or I don't know, silk women involved. And you can see sometimes that expenses are grouped and this is very important in the case of Lady Mary and the commission of her 1544 portrait that survives in the National Portrait Gallery, that probably Susannah Horenbout painted with her second husband, John Gilman, Master John.
Oh.
Bon.
The Master John.
The Master John.
Yeah, that's a name that I've seen quite frequently looking at portraits.
Who else? Do you remember Master John painted another very famous portrait? And we know this. The one of Catherine Parr, the full-length portrait in the same collection. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And when you start to compare these now 3/4 of full-length portraits to both the Holbeins, but also the Horenbout miniatures, they all look kind of alike. Especially the Master John and the Horenbout miniatures. It has inscriptions. The background is blue, as he writes. But then, for example, there's Horenbout miniatures that look like Holbein pictures of later wives of Henry VIII, like the miniature of Catherine of Aragon in the National Portrait Gallery, where it says she's the wife of Henry VIII, and the picture of Jane Seymour in the Kunsthistorisches Museum by Holbein. Those are very similar portraits. This is all part of a royal workshop where Susannah was working, and probably her first husband, John Parker, and then her second husband, John Gilman. And why I know that John Parker would paint too and was involved is because I found his will. And in his will, he's leaving artist tools to the members of the Horenbout workshop, and he left gold to Lucas Horenbout's wife Margaret Holzewither, that illuminator from England that had married Lucas also, who was a daughter of a German goldsmith. So this is all, artists are all connected. But this is not something that I study and not because I just thought of this. This is something that you get to study when you understand workshops. And I had an idea about this, but then when they did in the Prado Museum the exhibition on Rubens's workshop, I understood that they're very, very complex places where a lot of people are involved. So it's not just Lucas or just Susannah or just Gerard. It's a complex system where a lot of people are working.
Yeah, I want to, do you know the answer to this? How do people get involved in the workshop? Do they have to like apply to become a member? I guess I don't know how that works.
Well, I said at the beginning, I don't know if you remember, usually they're family workshops. So your father would be, like for example, Nicholas Hilliard became a painter, but his father was a goldsmith. So when your family was in the arts, it was likely that you were going to end up in the arts, right? This is part of that. In the Renaissance, there was not a lot of free will when it came to choosing your job a lot of the times, too. So you in society, you were kind of like drawn into doing certain things. If you were the son of a carpenter, what were you going to become? Other routes were through apprenticeships. So if, a banker would have a very talented boy for painting, he would find an artist, and that artist would take him on as his apprentice. So that's the two routes. But in Flanders, and these women specifically, Vasari, of the six he mentions by name, and he says there was many more, five of them are the daughters of artists, and one of them is a daughter of a medical physician. So it's fathers who obviously have an open mentality also to their girls. I mean, in the case of Levina Teerlinc, it's because Simone Benning, her father, had six daughters. What was he going to do?
That's a lot of daughters.
You got to do something with these six girls. Just have them paint or something while he was working at the workshop. One of them, this is how cool this dude was too, Simone Benning. One of them, of his daughters, became an art dealer. So I have a feeling that when Dura, Susannah, and Gerard met in Antwerp in 1521, Gerard was doing some work as an artistic agent for Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon, probably already, because they were involved in the elimination of the treaty when Charles was betrothed to Mary. The first miniatures in England really are miniatures of Charles and Mary, painted for their betrothal in 1521 of Charles V and Princess Mary. So it all adds up when you study it through this lens.
Yeah. So maybe you've answered this question before, and I'm sorry if you have, but you're talking about Susannah and Levina and when they were born, and there's a little bit of an age difference between the two. Did they know each other?
That's the thing. It's been proposed that maybe Levina was recruited to substitute the aging Susannah. And I thought a lot about this, and maybe, being an illuminator must have been so hard on your eyes.
I bet.
You didn't have surgery back then Simone Benning, and this is something that Alejandro Vergara brought up when he talked about Simone Benning, because he invented things like landscaping and things like that, and miniatures, and very cool dude. In his self-portraits, there are two, one at the Victoria Albert Museum and one in the Met. He has little spectacles, little lenses that he wears in his self-portraits. So yes, it's been proposed. It's believed that by the time that Mary becomes queen, Susannah's dead.
Okay.
So Susannah was born, Jura tells us that she's 18 in 50, around. He says around. That's the problem. He doesn't say, He said, so we don't know exactly, but that would have put her birth 1503.
Okay.
But think about this. Susannah, Horenbout met and Berlin, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
She was with Anne Boleyn for a long time, probably. Or the fact that Levina Teerlinc served all the Tudor monarchs except Henry VII and was paid more money than Holbein
Yeah,
and
that's
painted
crazy.
and received many, many, many Christmas gifts from Elizabeth I. So when they say that, everything that Mary did, Elizabeth changed. No, because Vasari tells us that both Mary the First and Elizabeth the First loved Levina Teerlinc's work. So in that sense, Catherine of Aragon influenced the way women liked art in the Tudor court because they ended up having a taste for this Flemish art that came from these very precise artists, right? This is what they stand out for, just doing very detailed work in very small format.
Yeah.
So who doesn't like that, right? It's so
How
beautiful.
convenient for the time if they hadn't experienced anything artistic that was that small to be able to take with them places. How amazing would it have been to be able to have a miniature painted of your loved one and then keep that with you as you travel abroad or whatever you're doing?
They had seen some of that because Catherine of Aragon had taken paintings of her mother, her family. There were paintings and this and that, but there were paintings in the collection of Henry VIII. That it all comes from a rise in the individuality of the Tudor court too, and this is why we get someone like Holbein then that really puts a face to almost everyone. You're not someone in the Tudor court if Holbein didn't paint you, right?
That's right.
Well, there's connections between Holbein and Susannah Horenbout because when Holbein went to paint Anna of Cleves, Susannah was involved as a diplomat.
That's right.
So it's more complex than just thinking that Susannah came to serve just Mary. No, she served Anna of Cleves. Anna of Cleves was involved with the women. It's the women doing certain things, and these Flemish women are coming to help them as gentlewomen who are trained in the art of illumination. Like Beatriz Galindo, La Latina, was trained as a Latinist in the court of Isabel of Castile. She doesn't have wages,
Mm.
but she's mentioned as a gentlewoman too. And she receives cloth, and she this is the same thing. It's just a new generation has new necessities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pretty cool, right?
it is so cool. I love it when we talk about these women artists, and because I feel like they're so often overshadowed by the men. Of course, we talk about that all the time. I feel like we know more about Susannah than we do about Levina. I feel like I don't know very much about Levina.
Well, Mel Taylor is going to tell us, well, I know a lot about Levina.
Yeah, she'll be like, "Why didn't you have me on to talk about this?"
Yes, and you should because she's the expert on Levina, and there's a lot more documents that talk about Levina. Really, she's like I said, she is mentioned. First of all, she's appointed paintrix. She's her wages are mentioned, and she's mentioned in many of the roles, the New Year's roles, and one of them in still in the reign of Mary the First. The only really work that we can attribute to Levina being a work that she gave to Mary, and it was a small picture of the Trinity. Again, think about this: Susannah, Savior, Levina, a picture of the Trinity. So they're doing both portraits but also devotional works. It's what these women need. They need portraits to do all these marriage negotiations they're doing and to give to their loved ones to defend things like their marriage, legitimacy, and all that, but also devotional works because these women's lives were entangled with religion from I was going to say from dawn till dusk, but they would wake up in the middle of the night to pray. So
Wow. Yeah, it's
24/7, more like.
I
Yeah.
can't I can't
And also the access, and Melanie Taylor talks about this a lot. A woman can paint another woman without having to be chaperoned by someone because nobody thinks anything's going to happen. Well,
That's when all the gossip happens. Who are they kidding?
I don't know. Things can happen between two women. I don't know.
I
No,
want
but
to.
it's in court society. For example, Isabel of Castile appoints Michel Sitao and Juan de Flandes as painters, and they paint her Isabel's daughters and Isabel. So when they were painting these little girls, they women would have been around and the chaplain and other people. Whereas Levina was one of her gentlewomen, and Susannah was involved in the wardrobe. So they would have been dressing these women. It's not, maybe they were fashion advisors too, because Catherine brings a fashion. I just thought of that, which I think is a brilliant idea. I need to write it down. Just a second. Maybe they were. We talk a lot about the marketing mothers, and the marketing
Yeah.
mothers like the Flemish fashion because it's the coolest. The Flemish fashion with the Spanish element of the magnificence and the brocades and the decorative work too, very influenced by Islamic arts and Islamic fashion. So it's but definitely Flemish in many ways and respects. And we always talk about the French hood, and the French hood. The French hood is Flemish too.
That's right.
It's the fashion is the fashion that we think is really modern and that Anne Boleyn introduced to England. But no, really, it was Catherine of Aragon and these women. So these women are involved in things like, I mean, Susannah Horenbout would have dressed Anne Boleyn to participate in Chateau Vert.
I feel like I want an entire course on the wardrobe of Catherine of Aragon. Can you do that?
Well, I mean, only if Maria Hayward gives me her permission, because I mean, she's a scholar to talk about when you talk about Catherine of Aragon's wardrobe. But definitely, well, yes, because to add that to add to Isabel's accounts and to add other things to that Maria Hayward's great job doing that, and to bringing the portraiture that we love to talk about those elements, right? And how that helps our historians to identify portraits, not only fashion, but one of my favorite things in the world, jewelry, the bling bling. Because a lot of these jewels are dynastic jewels, like the one that gave me the key to say that it was Susannah who painted the miniature of Mary, little Princess Mary. The fact that she's wearing a brooch that says the Emperor,
Yeah.
so these dynastic jewels are there to give a message to. So it would be very interesting to do a course in all these things, the visual elements that give legitimacy to these women, that give them presence, importance, and influence.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I would just love to see it visually, like how her wardrobe changed over the years, what things were added or taken away. I just think that would be such a beautiful thing to
There's,
experience.
there's beautiful things, and not just involving the wardrobe, because, for example, in Isabel's accounts, you get this is the accounts I love because they tell you all about daily life. Like when a little cart was made so she could start walking, or her first little book, so she could
Oh,
start reading, and her desk, and mundane things, but you think about it, it's really cute.
it
Because it's like
is.
she got her first desk and her little book and
Yeah.
a little cart to walk, just like you get now if you have a
Yeah.
kid. You get, it's some things haven't changed that much. Isabel is probably one of the only queens that we can study this for.
And when you look at those lists of things, like you just mentioned, it paints a picture in your head, doesn't it? Like you can imagine it now once you know that.
And it served a lot of Spanish artists, especially in the 19th century, when the romantic past of the Renaissance and medieval times, and these romantic artists were painting great pictures that are now, for example, in the Prado Museum of the court of Isabel of Castile. They use these accounts to replicate some of the or inventories. When Alejandro Vergara did the exhibition on Rubens's workshop, he would use inventories and accounts to find out what things these artists like Susannah Horenbout or Levina Teerlinc were using. They would use things like shells to keep the pigments. Shells, seashells, Isn't that
Yeah.
cool?
That is cool. That is
So you
really
have your
cool.
green here in this little shell, and you have your blue here in this little shell. It's because we have lots of things in our day and age that we don't value.
Yeah.
But back in the day, you just have to be ingenious to use all these things. Imagine, I would just love to walk in that workshop where Susannah was working. And yeah, hopefully she did meet Levina. Maybe she even knew about Levina. Maybe she was the one to propose someone from the Benning family. I know about the Benning girls. There's 6 of them. One of them is already being an art dealer in Antwerp. Why don't
Yeah.
you bring, I think the most talented one, his name is Levina. There's this dude that needs a wife in the court of Henry VIII. That's probably what happened.
I like picture them sitting in this workshop doing their little miniature, and they have this brush with like one hair on the end. And it's just like this meticulous.
And then Henry VIII barging in, hi, and just making all the dust go up, and oh, he's back. Yeah. They weren't only doing miniatures; they were illuminating documents, manuscripts.
Yes.
So we find miniatures of Henry VIII in documents of the time, illuminated documents that involving the Horenbouts, but also pomegranates that are the symbol of Catherine of Aragon. The first one that I think was painted by a Horenbout is that treaty that I told you about that is between Henry VIII and Charles V. It was signed in June of 1522 against Francis I of France, our favorite monarch, our favorite French monarch.
I have so many nicknames in my head for him that I can't even say out loud.
I just have a picture in my brain of him that I don't really want to have. Anyway. And that treaty, where it has an initial and a miniature portrait of Henry VIII enthroned in that, that is in Simancas, in the Archivo General de Simancas, in the section where they keep all these treaties of marriage projects between the Trastámaras and the Tudors, and then the Habsburgs and the Tudors.
I love this Parallel Lives series. I can't thank you enough for
Plutarch.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't thank you enough for finding that and realizing
we need a T-shirt that says "We love Plutarch." Oh my goodness!
Nobody would get it except for us.
And other geeks. Come on.
Right.
Plutarch fans.
It's such a great name too, Plutarch. Like it's
yes.
It sounds like an alien planet.
Well,
the planet of Plutarch.
Yeah. And then now I think that back in the court of Henry VIII, Plutarch was important. There was translations of Plutarch done at the time into. This is what the Renaissance and was bringing that. So Henry VIII would have read Parallel Lives, and this is why he wanted to be Hercules, and this is why Margaret of Austria sent him, a statue of Hercules made of earth. So that means made by Pietro Torrigiano. That's an encounter that I would have liked to see. Henry VIII and Pietro Torrigiano, the first time they met.
So if you could go back in time to experience any one event, is that the one that you would choose?
That would be one of the ones, yes. No, not the first time they met, because I'm sure they were very courteous. It's the first time they didn't agree on something. Because Pietro did several things for Henry VIII, like, for example, carve the tombs of Henry VII and Margaret of York and Margaret Beaufort. But then he designed a tomb for Catherine and Henry that was never finished. Why?
Did he die?
Because they had a fight. They had a fought. I'm sure they did.
He was like, forget you. I'm out of here.
He pinned Henry down, and Henry was like, you have to leave right now and never return. So Torrigiano reemerges in Seville shortly after Charles V has married Isabel of Portugal in Seville. So he probably left with Charles. He was probably like, take me with you. I'm not.
Please.
Please take me with you.
This guy's crazy.
Well, Pietro was pretty crazy too, because you know how Pietro ends up. We've talked about this, remember? What happens to Pietro?
Torrigiano and Michelangelo, right? Is that the story?
But what do you remember what happens to Pietro, how he dies?
No, wait. Gosh. I'm sure I do, but I forgot.
Pietro works for Henry VIII. Something happens, he disappears. Okay? He reappears in Seville shortly after Charles V is married. So, presumably, he traveled with Charles, who visited England several times, right? And he's working for this marquise in Spain, and he makes a statue of the Virgin, and the marquise is like, I don't think this is very cool. So Pietro's like, oh, you don't like it? And he smashes his statue in front of this dude, and he's taken by the Inquisition into prison, and he dies there.
Maybe you have told me this story before, but I feel like I just heard it for the first time, and that is insane. That is crazy. So he threw like a little tantrum because somebody didn't like his work.
You were not, it's sacrilege to break a statue of the Virgin Mary. Come on, Rebecca.
He's like, you don't like it? Well, screw you.
Oh, you don't like it? Watch me.
It's just
ask Michelangelo if I like taking criticism.
See,
so that's twice that we know that Pietro Torrigiano was criticized for his art and he didn't take it well.
No, I was just going to say that he did not handle criticism well.
Despite the fact that Spanish art historians say that his sculpture in Spain was a revolution. And the best thing that was ever sculpted in Spain was one of his sculptures. So this is the stakes are high in the Renaissance for these artists, you know? But he never made it. He never made it to the Ninja Turtles. No. Can you imagine one of the Ninja Turtles would have been Torrigiano?
No, I don't think that works.
He was he's mentioned by Vasari. Vasari says, and he mentions, Vasari says that another artist, Torrigiano, is working for Henry VIII, and he goes back to France to try to recruit people to take to England. And Cellini, who's another artist, is like, no, with you. I know what you do to other artists. And I've heard those people up north are barbarian, so I'm not really interested in going to England. Wow. That's what Cellini tells him.
And I can't stop picturing Torrigiano as a Ninja Turtle now. Like he, like what color would he wear?
Reboot.
And then would he like have like bruised knuckles?
It's like the Power Rangers. Remember they used to bringing a new one every season?
Okay, that is way after my time. I was much older than you at that point. I don't remember anything about
I have a younger brother, so I guess, the Power Rangers were tended, I kind of saw them when I was a teenager a little bit, but
yeah, that's what I say too about the Ninja Turtles. I was only into them because my younger brother was. Nice try. You were really into the Power Rangers. You liked the pink one.
No, I actually didn't like the Power Rangers. I much prefer the Ninja Turtles.
Sorry.
And Scooby-Doo.
This is my apology to the audience. I'm sorry I'm getting fixated on the Ninja Turtles.
And we chatted way too much, Rebecca.
It's just... Okay, so I want to wrap up this episode by asking you a random question. Okay, I've been thinking about
more random stuff. No, please.
Yeah. No, I think you'll like this because I think a lot about where our lives take us, right? And she's like, "Where are you going with this?" When I was a little kid, it was my life dream. Well, at the very beginning to be a firefighter, but I quickly realized that wasn't for me. But after that, I wanted to be an archaeologist. And so, I think that's one of the things that people don't really know about me is my passion for history goes way back. And maybe back then I didn't quite understand it. All I knew is that I thought it was cool to dig holes and find old things on the farm and try to figure it out. And I loved learning about my own family history. That's where the genealogy comes in. So my question for you then is, what was that first thing that you wanted to be when you were a kid? Because I want to see like how it compares to where you are now, if there's any relation.
Yeah, there's a few things I can remember. I can remember being laughed at by an adult once because they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I just want to be happy. And because truly, I was like, adults don't seem very happy.
Yeah.
Right? When I was a kid, I used to think adults, in school or this, the teachers were always like in a bad mood or whatever. You're like, maybe the 90s were just, but I was like, I don't know. There's a few adults who were. So I was like, I want to be like that adult who seems
Yeah.
happy. So
Yeah.
that was one of my main things. So the adult was laughing like, no, but you need a job. And I'm like, maybe that's the thing. I don't need a job. No, I'm only kidding.
That's how I'll be happy.
And I think I've always been, I think of a caregiver. So I did mention several times to my parents that I wanted to be either like a vet or, a doctor, but not a medical doctor, not
Sure.
not Dr. Emma.
I can see you as a caregiver. You were wonderful when you took care of me after my surgery, so I can see that in
Oh,
you.
thank you. But then I'm a hypochondriac, so I couldn't tolerate I mean, if you get too sick, then I'll just implode. No, thanks. So, yeah, I realized that no, it wasn't for me. I get too nervous when people are sick. I take care of them, but it's not like, I want to do this every day.
Yeah.
And I think another one of the things that I really liked as a kid was just now that in hindsight, I think I was always a bit of a in the performing arts or something like probably like Dr. Emma, something about me just talking too much,
You were an entertainer.
entertaining people with my rambling.
I think you found your calling.
There you go.
I
Some
think
people
it's
don't like it, and that's okay.
yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people like it, apparently.
I just thought of this the other day because I was like, you know what? We all have our own past. I think in the future I'm going to make a point of asking every guest
Yeah, it's a good point,
that
and
that question.
you can unearth some trauma, though, Rebecca. Be
Oh,
careful.
I don't want to do
Can
that.
you imagine the guest is just crying?
Right. I always wanted to be a painter, but my parents told me I couldn't. Thanks
That's
for bringing it up.
so cute.
Okay. Maybe I'll think twice about this. So
No, no, you're fine. You're fine. I'm sure you're fine.
I
But it's
always,
funny because I think a lot of people, it's funny how I think though when we're kids, there's a few things that we like, and it's more related to kind of I think it's the personality you have, right? So I don't think I would have been a good vet either. So I think it was just more like, oh, I like others, I like being around others and making sure everybody's okay and things like that. But how deep was that? Not very deep because it's other people do better the taking care of the real care.
yeah. I think as you
Yeah.
get older, you just realize what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then you play to them.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that the archaeology thing is it's got to do with exploration probably, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
kind of like answering questions about the world around you, you know?
I was just always so curious about old things around me growing up and growing up on an old farm.
Right.
Like there's just a lot of history there that nobody ever talked about. And I was always the kid who wanted to go into grandma's attic or wanted to dig in buildings to
Mm.
find old things. And I loved that.
Yeah, I was a bit like that too. And I always had like a little bit of I was the one and I started a lot of collections as a kid. My mom used to hate that. I'm like, I'm gonna start a new collection. So I would just like collect the same of something. That probably says a lot about me.
You're like, I'm going to start collecting rocks.
Oh
Just,
yeah. I had rocks, I had owls, like figurines, I had postcards. I still
wow.
have my postcard. I have my golf ball collection still.
Golf ball collection.
Yes.
I'm intrigued as a golfer. I want to know what kind of collection do you actually have? Like,
I mean, when you go to a golf course, they usually have a nice golf ball with their logo, and you purchase it and you take it home and you put it in your collection.
I've never done that.
What?
I've never, yeah, I guess I just purchased golf balls to replace the ones I've lost.
You're not a compulsive collector.
I guess I'm not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I am. I'm curing myself from it. With time, I've realized I can't just collect stuff.
I used to collect books.
Until I get my own museum. Very soon.
Oh, I would love that too.
That's what I would like. That's what I would like when I grow up now. I would like,
Can we still say that in our 40s when I
yes, I
grow
want to
up?
be a philanthropist and have my own museum. And
right.
when I grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Emma, I love our Thursday episodes. It's my favorite day of the week when I get to record with you. No offense to anybody else, but obviously my episodes with Emma are way different than my other interviews that I do. It's the for those of you who think we talk too much, and I'm not gonna like beat this to death saying it over and over, but for those who think that we talk too much, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because this brings both myself and Dr. Emma so much joy to be able to just be ourselves and share with you the knowledge that we have. And I love it.
Be our shareable selves.
That's right. And it's important for me to make sure everybody knows about you as well, because you have made such an impact on my life in so many ways that I want people to meet you and understand how much knowledge you have and how they should be looking
how many collections I have.
That's right.
Oh, people are just going to think I'm so weird. Well, it's totally true, guys. I'm a very weird person.
I am too.
So I'm so glad Rebecca puts up with me every Thursday. And you guys listen to us. And even the people who don't like it, because they're listening too. So, to quote Cardi B, thank you.
I just keep reminding people, like, I do 3 episodes a week. This is just 1 episode. If you don't like what we're doing here, there's a Tuesday episode where I interview somebody, and there's a Sunday episode where I tell a story. If you prefer,
you can just go outside and get some fresh air and do something else too.
Yeah, it's okay if you don't want to listen to us on Thursdays. It's fine. Yeah. There are people who do, actually.
Yes, and sometimes we talk about parallel lives.
That's right. We do. So today it really has been a joy to learn about these 2 women, Levina Teerlinc and Susannah Horenbout.
And I think that in the coming years, we'll know a lot more. So this is a very exciting field. Anyone who is interested and wants to help, not just Dr. M, because a lot of people are working on this now, help us if you find anything about them. This is the exciting part, because you never know. Like, you found her. You found a paintrix in your letter. So there has to be more references. Each reference is gold. I'm telling you. Especially if you tell Dr. Emma, because I know the backstory.
I didn't know what I had found when I found it. I just remember you being so excited and Melanie being so excited when I mentioned it. I was like, oh, this is something I don't know.
Yikes, these people are intense. Okay.
I know. But it was great.
Our historians, we're known to be intense because we love what we do. And we think it's important for people to realize that art is just about something that elevates us, that makes us really connect with that very profound part of ourselves that is connected not only to the production of an artwork or something that moves us inside, right? That talks about how we are really have something in life that elevates us. I love it.
We need that. We definitely need that.
Yes, we do.
Well, Dr. Emma, thank you so much for joining me again today for Dr. Emma and Me, Parallel Lives. It's always a joy. And I think maybe we should tease what next week's is going to be. Do you remember the topics that we chose for the next episode?
Wow, Rebecca. I think I have them noted down here.
I do. So. Well, one of them.
Do you want to give it away?
I think we should. I think it would be fun for people to have something to look forward to, because when Carol Levin was on the show, she briefly mentioned somebody that I'm intrigued by and know really nothing about, and that was Boudica. Yes. And I thought we should definitely do Boudica. And then you chose the second person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where I have it.
Oh, you're going to love it when you see that name.
I know. I remember that it wasn't going to be an easy one. Urraca?
Urraca.
Urraca.
Very good. That was perfect.
Thank you.
Urraca, the first of Leon. The first queen in Europe.
Oh, so that's who we are covering next week on Parallel Live. So be ready, because I think that one's going to be a fun one too.
Yeah, we have to. I need to get to study though, guys. So
Me too. I know nothing
have a
about.
great week, guys. I need to study some medieval history this week.
It'll be good, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Dr. Emma and Me. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review the show. It really helps more people find it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you'll know as soon as a new episode drops. And if you'd like to support what we're doing, head over to Patreon and become a patron. You'll get early access, bonus content, and more. Thanks again for being here. See you next time.